So let's look at sound for end of life. The first difference is whether they've had a diagnosis of a terminal illness, I should say so-called, right? Was with a partner who got a diagnosis of this rare cancer that 99% of the people die within 6 months, right? So there's that. But then there's when someone's already in hospice, right? And they're looking at the end of life, right? There's near the time and at the time. I had one of my friends used my dolphin with a woman who was about to die and played enlightenment for her. And she said the whole room lit up like white light, pure white light. It was like angels everywhere. And then she passed right then. You know, the number one approach here, obviously, is peace. Creating peace with the instruments, whether it's, you know, a sound healing instrument, toning, using the voice, playing music. There's a lot of different things you can do, but the critical part is they are commonly really fragile, right? So you have to watch out for things that are too much. Like a crystal bowl may be way too much. And it's tricky because they often can't tell you if they're really out of it. They may not be able to let you know that it's too much. So you just have to watch like a hawk for any sign that it's too much. Crystal bowl, pure tones can be too much. A gong obviously is too much. The reason most people use the number one thing used in hospice is the harp because it's such a warm sound. It's really warm and it's not edgy and it's really calming, right? So you just have to watch really careful for how fragile the person is and any reaction for to that instrument or anything they're doing. And it might just be a twitch, a little twitch. So you just got to watch like a hawk, right? But getting them into a place of peace and love and stillness is really the deal. Now, the the big question that I don't really know how to answer, maybe someone will send an email at david@soundhealingcenter.com, is how do you know when the time is right? Well, at least when they're in hospice, there's already been a decision made that the time is coming. I guess that makes it a little easier, right? But should you be doing healing and working towards healing? Because miracles can happen all the time, right? They do happen all the time. Or is it really their time? Now, if you're psychic or tuned in, it's awful. You often know. You 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 get the sense of what's right. You can simply not address it. Just get them to a place of peace and just get them blissed out. Get them peaceful and still. It's always easy with sound. It's what we do. But if I would actually have a conversation about death, because I've studied it so much myself. I did a whole class on death in college, and also I remember being really affected by the teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda, where they say death is an ally. Alice Bailey in her books talks a lot about it's a real problem that death is considered a bummer. It's actually just a transition of energy to a different state. In fact, it's actually a transition to a really incredible state. So it shouldn't be such a bummer. Because, I mean, normally people think of like, oh, let's be, really, it's like a really sad time. Well, it's not necessarily a sad time. It's like it could be a celebration, right? I mean, to make it like really that it really sucks. I mean, it does. I mean, you have to honor the fact that it's actually only for the people that are left behind that it's a bummer, right? For the person, it's actually not a bummer because they're going into the light, right? So, to instead of going in and having the energy of this is a bummer, they're about to die, and just running the whole energy of sadness. Well, it's like often when people are really fragile, they're actually open to the light much more. So you could just go in and just do like a celebration of love and light, a celebration of their whole life with sound, right? So run that energy instead of like, oh, I'm so sad that, this is happening to you. Wait a second. This is natural. This is the most natural thing in the world. There's, you know, it's then we're going into the most incredible energy there is, which is just pure source energy. So that's a really beautiful way to think of it is, you know, this is like a celebration or just a sweetness of love and light. You can think that they are so open to love and light. They're so close to being completely enveloped. So just to really run that energy, that's the deal. So also now if they have a diagnosis of a terminal illness, I mean there's two ways to go here. You could say, uh, you know, assume assume it's a done deal that you'll be fine. Right? But then you could also, even in the same session, you could say, if not, it's all perfect. Right? So what I would do is set those intentions and do the sound of them. So say we're going to do the sound of it's all perfect, it's all fine. Right? So regardless of what's going to happen, it's all fine. And here's the sound of it. And even do a whole little session with that intention. Right? So that could be beautiful for when they're in hospice as well. I would just totally focus on the love and light. Right? Just bring in love and light. Right? Especially if it's near their time or at the time. It's all about just the love and light and the preciousness of life, right? And gratitude. So this could be good for all of them. Peace and stillness. If you're into it, bring in higher beings. If that's too much, don't tell anybody. But if so, bring in higher beings and have them do the work. Right? Ask for helpers. I think those are about the only things I have. If someone's awake, you could give them music or things to do, although often if they're really fragile, they can't really do it anything very much. But maybe they could. Music or things to do. I would look for music that takes you into a higher realm, right? And I've got a lot of that. And there's a lot of even choral music. I mean, although sometimes people might get triggered by certain styles of music. Uh, so create a playlist of music. I remember when I was in the hospital and really fragile. I mean, just even my music was just, it was just the best because I'm like in an altered state already, and it's like, whoa, especially if they're giving you drugs, right? I mean, give me morphine and let me listen to my music. I'm having a good time, right? So put together a playlist. I, I think that's really cool. You could even try brainwave entrainment tuned to the person to get over any anxiety that they might be having. Okay, cool. Okay, that's about all I have. Um, Again, email me any comments or anything you want to add, and we'll add it to this Google Doc as we post it. Okay. Okay, let's do one long Om to end. Deep breath. Thanks for listening.